Alright, back to the B44.2 build. We're moving on to page 7. Step 1, 2, and 3. Steering assembly. Pretty basic. I don't do anything too fancy on this. Only thing I do is I add a couple shims to the hat bushings. And that's really about it on this, so pretty basic stuff. I went ahead and took the liberty to put my battery brace up on there. That comes in the bag. Bag D. That's what we're working with here. And I went ahead and put the column on. The reason why is because this part of the build, it's important. See the exclamation? It's important to get the small bearing, the bearing with the small hole in the bottom. So I have actually screwed this up before, and the best way to not screw it up is to go ahead and address that right now. Got the bearing with the big hole here. That's going to go on top. But this one here with the small hole goes on the bottom in the column. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in there so I don't mess up later. And that's out of the way, and I just don't got to worry about it. Can't mess up after that. Take your steering bolt here and just kind of shove those down in there. Makes it a little easier. And they're a tight fit. Boy, you screw this one up, screw that up, you'll be bumming trying to get that out of there. Thank goodness those bearings don't go bad. I ain't never had one go bad before. So we'll get this out of our way. Now what I did was I took on the servo saver, the upper and lowers, and it's got the steering, I guess they call it the lower servo saver arm. I like to take and rough them up with some 180 grit. Just kind of rough them up. I've already done that. Excuse me. Rough those up because that way if you don't want to glue it, most guys glue their servo savers. You don't have to. You can just tighten the spring down real tight and it'll hold pretty good. You don't have to glue it if you don't want to. Works pretty good once you get that spring on there, having it roughed up. These things are real shiny and smooth, and it'll slip pretty easy on you. Excuse me. Struggling with a cold while I'm building this thing, so let's get started here. I'm going to take the steering post and just shove it right in there like so. See if I can get us focused in here. And you're going to see the little hex in there. You're going to want to try to get that right in there. You want to get it as flush and set in there as far as you can. Really press down hard on it. Looks like it's in there pretty good. If you want to, you can even tap on it and get it in there. Make sure you get it in there all the way. And do the same thing with this one. And I know we're working with some metal pieces here, but you don't actually have to clean this piece of metal. How about that? Get that pressed on there real good. I'd say that's in there pretty good. It's about the same as the other one. If you get one that's sticking out way further than the other one, then you know you need to press the other one in further. There you go there. Start with the easy one. This will be on your right side. Simple as that. Just put it together and tighten her down. It's a 1/4 inch nut. Man, my allergies are messing with me or something. It's snowing outside. And this one is a little bit more work. This is the one that's going to have your spring on it. Put the spring on, and you get these little this little retainer on here. You slip that on. Then you're going to put the nut on. It's a lock nut. You've got to depress it a little bit to get it started. Sometimes you got to take your pliers and pinch that spring. Get it. Excuse me. Makes it a little shorter, easier to get started. Now the manual is going to tell you to crank this down to where you got a millimeter in here, but I don't. I crank it until I can't get it go no further, which is pretty much all the way down, and then I just snug her there. At this point, before you get any bearings around it or anything, you can put a little glue on it if you want. We'll go ahead and do that just so you can see how I do it. It's real simple. Oop. This is a thin glue. Again, it doesn't need it. If you rough that up real good, it doesn't need it. But just a little tiny drop on there and let it work itself in. And that's really all you need. Plus, by roughing it up, any glue that gets down in there is gives it something to adhere to. And that ain't going to slip. If you're ever out there on the track racing and your steering starts feeling a little fluffy or funny, a lot of times it's the servo saver's loose. It's always the last thing anybody checks for, too. But by doing this, you get rid of that problem real quick. So I can do this without gluing my finger to the steering arm. Now, there's that. Now you're going to get into the steering rack. It's going to show you to put the ball studs on there. You can add a washer. I don't know anybody that doesn't run them this way with a washer underneath it, but I've just always ran mine this way, and it's probably the way I'll always run it. I've played around with it a little bit, but didn't like it. The less washers you got, the more aggressive it's going to be in the apex. It adds a little bump steer. That's part of the deal here. It makes that, when your suspension's fully compressed, it makes the outside tire want to tweak inward at full compression, and it'll force that front to kind of want to hook on you. It'll free the rear end up a little bit, so you always want to run at least one washer here. But the way we're going to do this is with the hat bushings. I'm going to take these washers. These are old school shims, 3/16 shims. That's a .24. This one is probably a .24 or a .25. .25. And we're going to put them on over these little hat bushings here. Well, we're going to try to. Oh, these little washers. They are just so much fun. Little thin things. Alright, we're going to get serious here. There's one. Put a little spit on the end of the finger helps sometimes. There's two. Now what that's going to do is going to help us get rid of some of the slop when we go to put this together right here. It's going to help us get rid of some of the wobbling motion that you get with these. And it's going to make it a little bit more stable. And this part right here that hangs down lower, that's going to be facing the bottom towards the chassis. We're going to go to the rear anchorman hole. These two holes are the anchorman holes. And it's going to make the steering less aggressive. If you bring it up here, it's going to make it more aggressive. It's going to, your steering arm is going to collapse quicker when you swing it inward, left or right. It's going to turn quicker. It's more sudden. So I'm going to run mine to the rear because I like my car a little lazy. I don't want it to be too twitchy or too fast. I can't quite react that quick. Darn it, put it on the wrong side. So here we are. This is the front of the car. Hat bushing goes in over the top. This is going to be the left side of the car, so we're going to want to put the servo saver side on the left side. Let me get my wrench ready here. Trying to do this quickly. And it's going to go on the top side here. And by putting that washer on, that brings this here almost flush, this hat bushing on the bottom. Brings it almost flush. And by doing that, when you tighten it down, see, like if it hung down too far, see how much play you can get there? But by doing that, we're going to be able to snug this up a little more and have some adjustment in how much slop we want in there. Now, there's pretty well tight. See, it's not free. It's free, but I want it just a little freer than that probably. At any rate, that's pretty free. I'm going to leave it alone, but now you can see how little of play there is. It's still free. Yeah, that's good right there. I'm leaving that alone. Any standard 120 ounce servo can move that no problem. Look how that thing just swinging. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. That in over the top. This will be the right side of the car. See if I can get this here ready to go. Do the same thing. Snug her up. That one's still a little loose, but I'm going to go ahead and snug her down. That's pretty snug. See there? Look at that. Hardly any movement at all. And it's snug. I could go a little tighter if I wanted to. But that's pretty tight. So now your steering rack's pretty stable, nice and snug. It's not going to be all wobbly and loose. Your steering's going to be a little more linear and consistent. You know, feel like you got a little more control over the front of the car when you're turning. So there's that. Then you're going to take and put the your steering linkage, your servo horn linkage ball stud on. Goes on the top side, facing up, away from the chassis. That's not bad. Pretty doggone good. Bring the old chassis in here. Get a good shot of that. And then this here is all going to just drop right in to the front, like so. And that's one good reason why we put them bearings in there, because if you mix those and get those messed up, you're going to be bumming. The big bearing goes on the top of this. We're flying right through this baby now, ain't we? It's the easy stuff. Just drop her right on there. Make sure it's free. It feels like it could be a little freer, but we know it's going to break in a little bit. Now if it feels too tight, after you tighten this screw down, call this the steering retainer top. I'm going to snug that up. Pretty free. No movement there. I think I could get that a little freer. So we'll just tap this. Make sure all them bearings are in there good. Still just a little bit bindy. So I'm going to hold that up and it's not falling down, so we're going to see if the bind is in these screws here. Loosen these up just a little bit. Yeah, she's freeing up now. So we're going to leave it right like that. That's pretty free. This is still snug and tight. It's not wobbling back and forth too bad. It's pretty snug. And once that gets used in after, 4 or 5 battery packs, you might want to check it and snug it up a little bit, because it's going to free up some. So that's that. That's the steering rack. Pretty snug, moves free, and it's going to free up some more once we run it in. So that's good right there. Nothing to it, huh? So now we can move on to page 8 and get this front end started. We'll catch up with you later.